Welcome to Stephen and Penelope. We have a lot of new stuff coming in, so I want to give you a little bit of a tour. A lot of y'all asked about what's going on in the shop and what kind of new things are coming in, and it's different every week. So I thought I'd do some regular little updates for you. And if you're in the Amsterdam area, you'll find all this in our shop here in Amsterdam. And if not, you can have a little virtual visit. So everything I'm going to show you we have online at stephenandpenelope.com. And we're going to start in our front window. We just put up this rainbow display of Neighborhood Fiber Company, and they do really solid colors, really saturated hand-dyed tones, and they really pack a punch. So we picked this palette because I've been doing a lot of these striped and slip stitch designs. So I think with these solid colors, like this bright kind of cherry red, this is called Bromo, this colorway. And a lot of the colors are named after streets and areas in the Baltimore area and on the East Coast where Karita dyes her yarns. This one's called Station North, but they're really saturated, and we have their singles base. So it's merino wool, and this is called Rustic Fingering. But it's a really soft superwash merino yarn, and it's perfect for color work and stripes and all that fun stuff. And let's see, what's my favorite one today? I always can't get enough of these really vivid blues. And it has a little bit of a purple tone to it, this Georgetown royal blue colorway. So really fun, lots of solids, and a little bit of that kind of variegated, splashy color style as well. This one's called Hampton. So really fun colors up here at the front. And we're always changing up the displays, but this is what you'll see if you come into the shop this month. And we also have this new yarn from Third Vault Yarns. Really beautiful and soft fingering weight. So this one's a hand-dyed yarn, really good for shawls, and a lot of multicolors, and some really fun mixed colorways as well. So these are on a plied base. So if you like those plied types of yarns, you could even, do some socks with this if you wanted to. It's superwash yarn. But really soft from Third Vault Yarns, and they have some really nice moody colors as well. So a lot of different options to choose from. In the front, Neighborhood Fiber Company, Third Vault, and moving on down, we've got our Designer of the Month. We have a new featured designer every month, and this one is James Watts. And he has they have the most amazing sweaters and hats and a really fun, funky style. So a lot of our staff are knitting this color quadrant top with thicker yarn. So lots of fun inspiration when you walk in. And let's move on down and see what other yarns we can get inspired by. So we have a lot of hand-dyed yarns here at the front because I'm addicted to shawls. So all of these fingering weight yarns you can mix and match and use a little Neighborhood Fiber Company and mix it with some other fingering weight yarns. So this is the sock, super sock we have from Le Bien-Aimé right now, and a lot of fun colors that would be really fun to knit socks. Or I think this pink, this is the As If colorway. I think 2 skeins of this would be a really cool main color for a Painting Bricks shawl or the Stitch by Numbers. So this was a shawl I knit entirely with Le Bien-Aimé Super Sock. This one's in the Painting Shawls book, and it has 2 skeins for the main color, and you can choose 5 colors for the contrast color pops. But really fun with all those slip stitch patterns. And we have a mix of solids and all those yummy speckles from Le Bien-Aimé. And some more fingering weight yarns. We have A Room of My Own from Susan Crawford. Lots of beautiful semi-solid tonals. And a little bit left of Essence of Autumn. This is another new dyer for us this year, and we love the rustic color style. A mix of semi-solids and these really painterly splashes of color from Essence of Autumn. Now moving on down, Mominoki. We always have a lot of bases from them, and my favorite base from Mominoki is the Sock Fine 4-ply. This was the base used in my shawlography. And I love these types of yarns because they're really soft, but it's a plied yarn, so it wears really well. It's not too delicate and it doesn't pill very much. So I've been handling and wearing this shawl a lot, and it still looks good as new. And it really has crisp stitch definition. So if you want to knit the shawlography, we still have a lot of kits. We put a lot of kit palettes for a lot of these shawls on our website. But if you want to build your own and mix and match colors, I think there's some really fun color possibilities to be had from Mominoki. Another yarn you're going to see a lot of at Stephen and Penelope is Yak Collection. They are hand dyed in Germany, and right now we have a lot of their Merlino base, which is fingering weight, good for shawls, but look at that little white linen. It like gives this heathered, flecked appearance to the merino, and it's mostly in there just for that textural quality and gives a really nice harmony with all the colors, because when you start to blend and mix your colors together, they all have that little white linen heathered quality in common. So really, really fun in a single ply base. And their color palette is just super wide and huge, so you can get any neutral you can imagine. Lots of juicy berry purples. We always get lots of blues. And then my favorite, yummy yellows down there at the bottom. Oh, this is my favorite, lime soda. It's like a neon tennis ball. I love it. So that's Yak Collection, and we get their minis too. So thank you, Katrin, for dyeing minis for us, because these take a lot of time to dye and twist, and they are so cute and really collectible for all those ColourPop stripes. And I think these minis would be really fun in like a painting bricks shawl or the painting triangles. This will be really fun to use some of those mini skeins as the little ColourPops. So yeah, really cute and collectible, and it's always fun to mix those up with a full skein or a couple full skeins to get a nice big shawl. It's a little bit obvious that I'm obsessed with Ching fiber, and we get a lot of it so that I can have all the colors to knit with. And basically I think of my shop as a stash that I share. So I get all the colors and then we hang them up on the wall like this, and then it just becomes that game of which color to choose and which one to put with what. So we have a lot of these busy Ching fiber splashy colors that they would just make a beautiful faded color sequence. Oh my gosh, this would be amazing. Like a really electric, oceanic, stormy color palette with these blues. I think that would make a really fun sea swell shawl or a fiery foliage, this lacy leaf pattern that I designed last year. I think that would be really amazing with 5 skeins faded together. And we have a few bases from Ching, and the fingering weight bases, we have the original merino singles over here. So if you like that single ply merino, that's the merino singles that you'll see a lot of. And we have another singles base called Dashing Sassy, and this one's custom made for us, and it's custom spun for Ching, and it's the same weight as the merino singles, but it's even softer and a finer micron count merino and extra fluffy. So that's the exact base I used on the fiery foliage, and it creates these voluminous, plump, extra cloudy stitches. So if you're at all sensitive to fiber types or things being a little too rough for you, you're not going to have a problem with the Dashing Sassy. This is like as soft as it gets in merino yarn. And we have just a few colors, just a couple colors to choose from. All the neutrals and warm colors, and her purples are some of my favorites, because whenever Layla dyes these multicolors, it's purple or pink, but she always mixes in something that doesn't belong, but it's just right, like that green and blue. I love the speckles she chooses to put in her colors. She has a really nice artistic eye for contrast and harmony. Oh, so yummy. This one's called Sunflower Maze. I've used this one a lot, and I always like to mix kind of these neutrals with a bold accent pop. So I usually take these kind of speckly ones, but then I put it, I'm kind of liking this rosy. This is well, it's called Rosy, so that color's called Rosy, and that Sunflower Maze. So yeah, I really like taking those multicolors and bringing one color out of it and accenting it with a solid, and you get that good contrast for a painting triangles shawl, or you could start fading the colors together. Got so many to choose from in the Dashing Sassy base, so you'll see this a lot here in the shop. Another base we get from Ching Fiber is the Yak Singles base, and it's the same weight as the Dashing Sassy that you just saw, but it has yak and silk in it. So this is one of our luxury fibers that we carry, and it is so shiny and has that beautiful heathered quality to it. So, I don't know, it's gorgeous. It comes in really big skeins too. All these are 120-gram skeins, so you get over 500 yards. So by just getting 2 of these, you're gonna get a good size shawl. Or if you put 3 of these together, you can knit the Pagona that I just re-released. This was one of my very first shawl designs, and it's so easy to knit. So if you haven't knit a shawl before, this Pagona is really mindless, really easy knitting, and it's all about that beautiful Yak Singles yarn, showing off those simple stitches. And next to that Yak Singles, we have Life in the Long Grass. So this is another base that we get a lot of, their singles base, and we usually have their DK as well. But this is the singles in a beautiful rustic color palette, and it's, yeah, really subtle and really nuanced in the dye style that they do. So you'll get these really unique color mixtures that are just kind of that melted multicolor style. So Life in the Long Grass singles. Malia's designed a lot of shawl samples with it, and this is one of hers called Kitiona that has really nice slip stitches. And what I like about the Life in the Long Grass color style is all the colors have that glazed tonal effect. So when you're working slip stitches or textured stitches, you're really going to get that detail that pops out of the fabric because of those little light glazed highlights in the yarn. And I just love Malia's use of texture using 4 colorways. So you can get 1 skein of each color, 4 colors, and knit that beautiful Kitiona triangle design. Another base we have from Susan Crawford is the A Room of My Own yarn, and this is the Buyer fingering weight base, Buyer fingering, and it's more of a rustic fingering weight wool. So if you like that rustic, toothy quality in your knitting for color work and that really cozy rustic feeling, this yarn is going to be perfect for you. It has that really great structure and squish factor, and has all these rustic, beautifully heathered tones in the Buyer fingering weight base. Now we have a little bit more chink fiber. Surprise, surprise. This is a other fingering weight base we have called BFL High Twist, and I like to call this wall my Swell wall, my Swell shawl wall. This is when I fell in love with this yarn designing my Swell shawl. It's a really easy garter stitch design using 5 colors faded together. And you could even do a version of this all in 1 color. It could be really cool. But I like the color melting. And with all these colors to choose from, you can mix and match those splashy colors and melt them together. So let's grab maybe a really moody palette. This is the Panda colorway. It's a really fun black speckled yarn. And this one is Obsession, this dramatic fuchsia and burgundy mixture. So you could play off of that and then build a really juicy, chaotic palette. This one's called Siberia. This is one of her newer colors. And then you could go darker or go lighter. Maybe put the flamingo pink in there. Oh, this one's a new one. This one's called Fandango. This is like the flamingo's sister skein. She has another colorway called Flamingo that's another pink. But Fandango is like an even more intense pink. And then maybe go light for the first color. This is called Mars. That would be a really fun, juicy fuchsia Swell shawl. So we often put kits together with all these colors, but if you ever want advice on seeing some inspiration online or seeing some things you like from this video, you can always email us too at info@stevenandpenelope.com. And we love putting special color palettes just for you based on your inspiration. So that's the Swell wall, and dozens of beautiful speckled and semi-solid colors. In the back here, we have a lot of our thicker yarns. So we have some hand-dyed yarns and some commercially dyed yarns. So one of them is La Bien-Aimé's Cory Worsted. So we usually have the full palette of that this year with all the neutrals, heathered golds, and those really berry saturated, really deep colorways. And I really like this base, especially with the saturated colors, because when you dye something really deep and saturated on it, it gets even more dramatic because it's dyed on a heathered gray base. So it really soaks up the color and deepens the value of all those classic La Bien-Aimée colors. They get a new heathered appearance on the Cory Worsted. And I used this yarn for the Corrugation Shawl. So this is a really fun, simple worsted weight shawl that you can pick one color and knit those simple knit purl ridges for the Corrugation Shawl. And we also have a little Pierre shawl knit up with this yarn in those beautiful pinks. So really nice detail and texture that you get with this yarn. And next to it, we've got another worsted weight favorite of ours, Malabrigo Rios. This was one of the first yarns I knit with back 14, 15 years ago. And it's so soft, and just the colors are so yummy and rich, especially those bright blues and electric greens. This one, I believe, is the Matisse blue. It's a really stunning saturated blue. So great yarn for baby knits and superwash garments. It's good for sweaters. So I think picking a color of this, you could do a really cool dustlin sweater or something with the Malabrigo Rios. And then some other thick yarns we have the thicker base of Spin Cycle. This is Dream State. This was the yarn I used in last year's Hybrid Knit Along. So you could do a really cool spiraling cables triangle kind of slip stitch shawl with these thick yarns. And one of them's enough for a hat. But it's really fun and quick to knit that Spin Cycle style in the thicker worsted weight yarn. It goes really fast and really fun to knit those. And this, we usually have the Gilliatt. We get this yarn a lot because it's so good for sweaters in that worsted weight gauge, and it's non-superwash. So this yarn is going to be really good for classic cables and that Gansey styles kind of sweater. A dustlin sweater would be really good. And I just really love the feeling of this yarn because it has that rustic quality. But if you haven't knit with this, it's really, really soft. So it's a French merino wool, and it has these heathered colorways that are so nuanced and just really pretty to knit with. And I love the color palette. It's really classic with some really interesting subtle tones. Rerum Natura. And in the back here, we have our Holst. This is one of our favorites because the color palette is just a full rainbow with all these beautifully heathered colorways. This is their cotton wool blend in Holst Coast. So it's like a light fingering weight, heavy lace weight. So if you want something really lighter, more for warmer climates, this is really good for shawls and sweaters for that light, breathable kind of fabric, Holst Coast. And moving along here, we have a thicker yarn. This one's new to us, called Oh My Pebbles Woolly. It's a recycled yarn. So it's a blend of wool, polyester, acrylic, nylon, and other. So it's mostly wool, but it's made from all recycled fibers. So yeah, really nice colors with those kind of tweedy bits. And a lot of the fibers are used from recycled clothing. So yeah, a really fun yarn. You could knit a sweater that used to be probably an old sweater, and now it's made into a new yarn. So I have my eye on a couple of these colors to knit some shorts. So I think that would be really fun. I have a pattern called the Thigh Lighters, and I think that would be really fun to do this cotton wool blend pair of shorts. And over here we have our other Holst base called Super Soft, and this is a rustic 100% wool on a fingering weight base. Beautiful yarn, and it comes in 50-gram cakes. So if you just collect one or two for little color pops, you could mix that with a full skein to get some really nice stripes in your knitting. But I love the put up of those cakes. They're just so fun to collect, and the color range is really extensive with Holst Super Soft. For you fluffy fiber lovers, we got a lot of Mohair. Mohair silk is one of my favorite yarns to knit with because of that fluff factor, and it's just so soft and silky. And we also have the Ching Fiber Melted Baby Surrey Alpaca. So we usually have a lot of colors of this yarn. And this is a great mohair alternative. It's even softer. It's really cloudy. And you'll see me use that yarn in a lot of my patterns. But this mohair silk, we have some from Isayer. This is that classic lace weight mohair silk yarn. And when you start to mix these colors together, you can get some really beautiful color stories and throw them together for the Rain or Shine shawl. So this is a really fun pattern to use entirely with mohair, and I chose 5 colors of mohair silk to mix and marl together in that Rain or Shine shawl. And there's some more right around the corner here. We've got our Westwool Glow Hair. This comes in hanks in skeins of yarn, the glow hair mohair silk. And we also have some from Knitting for Olive. This is a really nice and soft, fluffy mohair as well. So a lot of colors to choose from in those fluffy mohair yarns. And we usually have a lot of this Kama Rose Midnut Sole. This is a Surrey alpaca, or a baby alpaca. And this is the same weight as that lace weight mohair. But if some of you have an allergy to mohair or want to try something else, this has that same fluffy softness. And this is the best substitute for mohair, fluffy alpaca, because you're going to get the same look, but a different fiber. So this is from Kama Rose, Midnut Sole. Lots of beautiful colors with this alpaca blend. Here at the front, we've got our Amsterdam wool. So you're always going to see a lot of undercover otter in the singles base and the Eventide. This is our custom yarn that's custom dyed for us. So you'll only find this base at Stephen and Penelope, the Eventide Yak and Silk Merino. And this is the yarn I use to knit the painting columns. So you can see those beautiful yaki silk fibers. They're like little jewels, collectible jewel skeins for the painting column shawl. And we just got the thicker version of Undercover Otter's Eventide DK. So if you've knit with the fingering weight version, you could do a beautiful Dustland shawl or a Pierre shawl with the new DK weight base from Undercover Otter. Love It bags. These are printed and painted here in Amsterdam on this really nice thick cotton canvas. So you'll find those little Amsterdam souvenirs here. And of course our Westwool wall, our fingering and DK weight yarn that we have custom spun for us. And this is my painting bricks yarn. I think this is one of my all-time favorite designs that I've made because it is truly a landscape for you to customize and get addicted with color pops and treat knitting more like a form of fiber art. And yeah, paint with colors. And I chose 8 color pops for this one with that dark main color, but I've been seeing so many cool painterly splashy versions using these hand-dyed yarns as well. So you can really mix and match those different yarn types together. And we've laid out the shop to kind of encourage that for you, where you have different styles of yarn next to each other. The crazy splashy ones next to the solid ones to hopefully spark some new color ideas that you haven't knit with before. Well, thanks for taking a tour with me. I'll try to do more of these as we get new yarns in, because it's always changing every month. But that gives you a little taste of what you can expect when you visit. And if you're not close to Amsterdam, you can do a little virtual trip on your keyboard. You can go to stephenandpenelope.com, and all those beautiful colors and design and kit ideas, they're all online, and we ship worldwide, and we're always here to help you pick out colors. So even if you send us an email looking for that perfect color palette, we can put some photos and suggestions together for you, and we always love to see what you make. So feel free to share all those photos of your projects using hashtag Stephen and Penelope, and we'd love to get inspired by what you're making with our yarns. So I'll make these again and see you in the next video.